think it was a very interesting day. It was a fascinating day, and it shows what a scam this whole thing is.
Donald Trump sounding off after another breathtaking day in court. Michael Cohen cornered into a potential lie in the most dramatic moment of the hush money trial so far. The jury and the media left in total shock as they heard a key piece of cross-examination. Trump's lawyer accusing Cohen of lying about a crucial phone call that's supposed to directly link Donald Trump to the Stormy payment. Blanche drawing the court's attention to text messages. They are between Michael Cohen and Keith Schiller, that's Donald Trump's former bodyguard. And they were made on October 24th, 2016. Cohen texted Schiller about harassing phone calls he was getting from an alleged 14-year-old prankster, to which Schiller responded, "Call me." That phone call lasting just 96 seconds. Cohen then sends Schiller the number of the prankster. On Tuesday of this week, Cohen told the prosecution that purpose of the call was to inform Trump of how he planned to make the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. So Todd Blanche bluntly telling Cohen that was a lie. You did not talk to President Trump. Cohen responded, "I'm not certain that's accurate." So was the call about a 14-year-old prankster, or was it about a payoff? The media is struggling to spin it.
It was like a crescendo because the drama of the moment was so clear to everybody in the room.
Do you have doubts that that conversation happened the way Michael Cohen testified on his direct examination?
Absolutely. I think it's devastating, for Michael Cohen's credibility on this, in this one particular topic.
If there is reasonable doubt, it might have very well been raised Tuesday and today with Mr. Cohen.
It really appears like a bit of a Perry Mason gotcha moment. That'll be hard for the prosecution to come back from.
Michael Cohen could have been lying. He could have been forgetting. He could have been forgetting about being right. He could have been forgetting about being wrong.
In and of itself, at this point, I don't think that it raises, quote, reasonable doubt, close quote. However, you have to remember that there's going to be redirect.
Okay, Judge Janine, seems pretty significant if everyone from the other networks are saying the same thing.
It is very significant. And my source in the courtroom said the jurors actually, and up to this point, they've been very kind of nonchalant about everything. They actually looked at each other. It was a huge moment. The reason it's huge is because Michael Cohen is the linchpin of this case. He has to be believed in virtually everything he says in order for there to be a conviction. And don't get me wrong, if there is a conviction, it will be reversed. There's so much reversible error here. But it is a call log that is very clear that a call was made from Michael Cohen to Keith Schiller. Now, apparently, they didn't have the information that the defense has, or they didn't give it to Michael Cohen, where there were text messages. Michael Cohen is complaining to Donald Trump's bodyguard, saying, "I'm getting harassed by this 14-year-old kid." And so Schiller says to him, "Call me at exactly that time." So Cohen calls Schiller. As a result of that conversation, which is 1 minute and 36 seconds, then Schiller says, "Text me the number." Okay? That 1 minute and 36 seconds, Cohen has already testified, was when he told Donald Trump that the Stormy Daniels deal was done. It clearly is not about that, because you can't change a call log and the text messages that interlace, that are very clear they're talking about this 14-year-old. And also, you would have to believe that they talked about the 14-year-old. This is what they're going to try to do on redirect on Monday. They talked about the 14-year-old, and then Cohen said, "I need to speak to the boss." And Schiller says, "Well, let me see if the boss is there, or is the boss here?" He'd have to put there's not enough time, Dana. Yeah. And they blew it today. They absolutely blew it today. It was a key moment. And remember that up to this point, no one has put Donald Trump's fingerprint anywhere near the ledger of a company and the internal operations of bookkeeping, in addition to the fact that this guy is he's just a liar. He shouldn't even be sworn under oath.
Watching that opening, Marie, do you feel like that the jury is being given some reasonable doubt to play with?
Probably. And, the people we just played are not supporters of Donald Trump, right? So I think that this clearly was not a great day for the prosecution. There is still some of the trial to come. There's a lot of evidence that we know, both legal and political, that Donald Trump knew there was going to be a payoff to Stormy Daniels. because of an affair. The question was whether it was to help with the campaign or not. And so I think politically, the question remains not a legal one of whether he will be convicted or not, but whether this will, in the public's mind, remind people of all of the sort of salacious, nasty, chaotic details associated with Trump. Legally, it doesn't seem like it was a great day for the prosecution, but there's still some trial left. And I think Trump's lawyer said today, and Judge may know more about what's going to happen here, that he's still not decided whether he will testify. So
President Trump. Okay.
President Trump will testify.
It feels like the star witness is imploding.
Yeah, I heard in the courtroom, too. After that big moment, Janine described George Conway goes, "Oh, my God," and put his hands to his face. And the jury reacted the same way. So they played podcasts at the beginning, and Cohen was all like this. He's like, "Oh, we gotta arrest this guy. I need my revenge." And he had this high-pitched, giddy, hysterical voice. And people in the court say the jurors were embarrassed for Michael Cohen. And Michael Cohen was embarrassed for himself because he sounded like a whack job. And then at that point, Donald Trump was paying very close attention, obviously, because they were playing podcasts. And then for almost the entire day, the defense counsel was just saying lie, 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 over and over, and catching him in lie after lie, even lying about wanting a pardon. And then he was caught in another lie. "Oh, actually, I did ask for a pardon." His voice was breaking, Cohen. He was shifting in his seat like this, looked extremely uncomfortable. And then it was gotten out that he was deleting texts with his wife. And he had recorded like over 100 phone calls with reporters and other people, total scam artist. And I guess from what I'm hearing, they just have to prove this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Judge. Did not go to law school. This payment was a campaign finance violation, and Trump had to know it was a campaign finance violation, and that Donald Trump willfully and intentionally conspired to falsify business records to cover it up. I've been paying attention. I haven't seen any proof that they've presented in court that he did that.
And there also was this little nugget that came out today. Rosie O'Donnell reportedly sent some encouraging text messages to Michael Cohen shortly before Cohen took the stand on Monday morning. Rosie saying this: "Breathe, relax, tell the truth. You've got this. I love you. You're doing great." To which Cohen responded, "Thank you, and truly love you." Rosie O'Donnell, I didn't expect to see her pop up here.
Yeah, I can't think of a more unappealing pair, and I've seen Michael more topless.
Ooh.
Rosie says, "Breathe, you got this," which is what she says to the toilet before flushing. And, thank you. And I love this. They became friends. Rosie says, Cohen reminds her of every guy she went to high school with. Cohen said the same thing about Rosie. So the New York Times is waxing poetic on this relationship. The story of their friendship involves a prison visit, Barbara Walters, and forgiveness. But what it's really about is the fact that they're simply using each other. They're both emotionally damaged by the evil stepfather. Someone needs to bring a shrink in with a doll and ask Cohen and Rosie to point to the area where Donald hurt them. You're seeing the seduction of strange new false friends. Once you turn on Trump, you get validation from everyone from Dan Goldman to Rosie O'Donnell. But what's more laughable is the tools at CNN and MSNBC, who once painted Cohen as scum, now we're trying to redefine him as this hero, this reborn hero. And he's so low, he'll take it because he has nothing else. But they're going to cast him aside like Michael Avenatti once they don't need him anymore. As for the 14-year-old prankster, they're saying, "Oh, this is a devastating blow to Cohen's credibility." That's like saying eating a cracker is devastating to Lizzo's figure. He already had a massive credibility problem. So this is not shocking to me that he was caught lying. This case never should have been brought. It wouldn't have been brought against anybody except it was Trump. And the truly shameful behavior isn't just the people bringing the case, but it's the journalists cheering it on. Again, this is for the legacy media, it's suicide by cop. They're using the law to end their own careers. This is that another corner turning for a dying media, that they're so willing to say, we're not going to bother dealing with the facts because we don't like this guy.
Greg, what kind of guy, excuse me, if they got a prank phone call from a teenager, would get the Secret Service involved?
Isn't that
says
amazing?
everything you need to know about that.
How old is that 14-year-old now? How long ago was this?
I can't do the math.
2016, October 24th of 2016.
8 years.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's something that I want to add, and that is this. If the text messages intertwine in terms of the call log, why didn't Michael Cohen have those? Why wasn't he prepped on that? Did the prosecution know that Michael Cohen, by going all in and saying, this is the minute and 36 seconds that I told Donald Trump the deed was done, were they suborning perjury? Were they, I mean, was this information given out to everyone? That's a very touchy subject. Was it exculpatory information? What does this do to the prosecution's case that's even more serious than credibility issues?
And so it picks up again on Monday.
Yes, and, it's interesting that the defense did not say we finished our cross-examination. They left it open, which was a smart thing to do.
And ruin Michael Cohen's weekend.
Let him stew.
All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.